excited to bring a brand new product out that's set to hit the market in January of 2023. Now, the K-Tune billet shifter has been on the market for a long time. It's been a staple in the drag racing community. It's been used a lot in street cars. They do offer the HD shift cables with it. So to be able to use this in the Nissan community would be a huge benefit. So what we've come up with is a 3-piece kit. It's going to include a billet reverse pattern shifter arm. It's going to include a steel stabilizer bracket. This has been black oxide coated to prevent any corrosion. And it's also going to include a billet aluminum outer bracket, which will directly replace the outer bracket that's on the K-Tune setup. Now, everything is geometrically identical to the existing arm. It's not going to change the cable location at all. It's simply going to move the pivot point out to reverse that shift pattern. Now, the beauty of this kit is it's not going to require any drilling or any rework of your factory billet shifter. So without further ado, let's dive into it. Let's show you exactly how easy it is to swap this kit. There's 2 bolts here that hold on the outer bracket. I already have one out, but we're going to remove these 2. Simply need to pop these springs out from the arm. Just like that. We'll set that aside. We need to keep the spring because we will be using that. Simple as that, your arm comes out. Now we're going to repurpose some of the components on this. However, this steel sleeve will not be reused. We're going to take this pin, we're going to use that. We're going to keep the bolt for the cable. Everything is directly the same on the Vision 1 arm. Remove the retention bolt. I do include brand new hardware with you, so you don't have to worry if you lose one of those. Now, after you take the retention bolt out of the factory K-Tune arm, you're going to need to drive out the spherical bearing that's in here. Now, it's plastic. It is a slight press fit in here, so you're going to need to use a fairly snug fitting socket. I find a 14mm 1/4-inch drive fit in my application. Depending on your socket, you may need to use something a little different. But as long as it has a thin wall and will fit snugly around the outside of the spherical bearing, you should have a good amount of meat to press this out. You'll notice on the spherical bearing that it's tapered on one side and the bearing itself is offset to the other side. You want to make sure this is on the outside when you're installing in the new one, and the taper will simply press into the reverse arm itself. So we're simply going to install this one in the new reverse arm. Should go in mostly by hand. If you need to tap it a little bit, again, just make sure you're hitting the outside and not the actual bearing itself. You don't want to ruin the spherical bearing. So you can simply use the included hardware. Screw in your retention bolt. Now, the shifter arm itself is good to set aside for now. We're going to move on to the stabilizer bracket and the outer bracket. And there is going to be a bit of a trick to this. You'll need to secure everything in place before having the actual shifter arm in, because one of the bolts is captured underneath the shaft itself. Drop our bolt in, drop the other bolt in. Now we're only going to lightly snug up the bolt under the shaft for now. So we still need this to be a bit movable. So we're going to take the shaft and we're going to align this with everything together, and this is going to make sure that our stabilizer bracket and our outer bracket are in line before we tighten anything down. Now, I would advise using a dab of blue Loctite on this. Now we can take our shaft right back out. And we'll do the same for this one. Now that's in position, we'll take our reverse arm and put the spring on. Just like so. And we're going to need to sneak this in. You'll need to compress the spring just a little bit. Need to get it past our outer bracket. We can take it and set the spring back in place. Just like so. Now with everything in place, we're ready to put the shaft in. It'll slide all the way through. And again, we'll take our second retention bolt and put this cap screw in, and that's going to retain the center shaft. Again, this is something that I would suggest putting some blue Loctite on. Keep everything secure. Keep an eye out on www.vision1racing.com, and you yourself can get set up in one of these early next year. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy the new product.